At dinner, my son-in-law smirked and said, "Maybe it's time you hand over the house, Mom. You can't manage it alone." I kept my fork steady, though my pulse thundered like church drums. That night, I started a paper trail that would turn his plan to dust. The story was just beginning. I pulled into Lyric and Damon's driveway just as the cicadas hit their evening pitch. Baton Rouge heat still clung to the air, thick as syrup. I balanced my casserole dish and my favorite cardigan, both small comforts that make any family dinner survivable. The porch light flickered when I rang the bell, that kind of flicker that always feels like a warning. Inside, the smell of rosemary chicken and overbaked rolls met me first. Their dining table gleamed. One chair just a touch off center. Mine, of course. "How y'all doing?" I said with my practiced warmth. Traffic on Perkins was a mess. Lyric smiled distractedly, already checking a timer on her phone. Damon poured wine, his smartwatch glowing like a neon badge of importance. The talk drifted to APR rates, leasing deals, tuition hikes, all their favorite little markers of stress. I sat quietly, noticing the bottle on the table. A mid-shelf cab, dressed up with a cork he called top shelf comped. He lied so easily it sounded like charm. I didn't correct him. I'd already learned that truth doesn't always feed the peace. I reminded myself, be kind, be steady. I paid most of their big bills, mortgage, insurance, tuition, and no one ever said it aloud. Tonight, I wanted peace. Just one meal without pride slicing the air. The banter rolled until Damon leaned back, wine swirling. "So, Callista," he said, that half-smile curling, "how does it feel being, not exactly useful these days?" The table froze. The hum of the AC was the only sound left. Lyric gave a small laugh that sounded more like permission than protest. I felt my face heat but kept my posture steady. "You think that's funny?" I asked softly. He shrugged. "Just saying. Retirement looks boring. Must be nice to do nothing." Mrs. Pruitt, their neighbor, shifted uncomfortably. A guest at the far end glanced down, pretending to check a message. I caught every detail, the flicker of embarrassment, the hidden smirk. I'd been insulted before, but something in his tone landed deep, like a paper cut that won't stop bleeding. I breathed slow. My mama used to say, "You don't have to answer every bell that rings." So I didn't, not yet. I set my glass down with care. The soft click hit the silence like punctuation. "Damon," I said evenly. "That's a heavy thing to say at a light table," Lyric murmured. "He's kidding. Mom." But her eyes betrayed her. She liked the control it gave her husband. Damon leaned back, smug, waiting for me to flinch. Instead, I adjusted my napkin, folding the crease, smooth. "Baby," I said, keeping my voice honeyed. "I may be retired, but my mind ain't on leave." Laughter rippled, some polite, some nervous. I took my time passing the cornbread, asking about Navia's school project, the usual grandmother script. "Usefulness," I said lightly, "isn't loud. It keeps the lights on." That one landed. Even Damon blinked, caught off guard by the truth hiding in small talk. He tried to brush it off, rolling his eyes. "Old school budgeting," he muttered. I smiled. "Old school's how you still got a roof, sweetheart." Then I breathed in. Calm but final. "How does it feel?" I asked, voice clear. "Knowing I won't pay your bills anymore?" Fork stopped. Ice clinked once, then nothing. I didn't shout. I stated fact. "Auto pay ends tomorrow. No new cards. Handle your household. Y'all are grown." Lyric whispered. "Mom, not tonight." Her voice trembled, not out of love, but fear of exposure. Damon gave that brittle laugh again. "Come on, we're family." I gathered plates, stacking them quietly. "Family doesn't mock the hand that holds them steady," I said. "Mrs." Pruitt's hand brushed mine as I stood. "You okay, sugar?" she whispered. "I'm fine," I said, smiling. "I'm just done being polite about money." As I reached for my purse, a phone camera caught a reflection in a glass of water. Someone was recording. I filed that away, another receipt for later. On the porch, the night air felt cooler, cleaner. My phone buzzed. Unusual activity detected. The screen glowed bright, I hovered over view details, my thumb steady, my pulse not. Tomorrow, I murmured to myself. We balanced the books. The light above me hummed. I tapped the alert. My account showed transfers I never approved, multiple ones, all recent. My reflection in the glass door stared back, calm, unflinching. Already planning the next move. The house was still when I woke, only the fridge hummed. And somewhere, far off, a train moaned down Nicholson. I set my coffee beside a yellow legal pad and pulled the printer to life. Each whir was like a heartbeat, steady, determined. I printed every statement for the last 6 months. Each page another clue. Red ink for unknown charges, green for the household bills, yellow for anything that looked half shared. Damon's favorite cigar lounge appeared 5 times. One at 1:12 a.m., then a consulting subscription that didn't belong to me. I leaned back, pressing my palm flat against the cool table. Line by line, lie by lie, I whispered. Mama used to say, charge it to the game. But this wasn't a game anymore. It was theft dressed as entitlement. I marked recurring expenses, noting utilities, that me's, HOA, insurance, cell plan, all under my name. My generosity had turned into someone else's lifestyle. I paused, remembering the hidden phone at dinner. Video? I wrote on the margin and underlined it twice. I was done doubting what I saw. At sunrise, I called Judith at the Main Street branch. She'd been my banker for 10 years, the kind who remembered birthdays. Miss Renault, she said. I saw the overnight flags. Her tone was kind, not pitying. We confirmed my identity. Last 4 digits. Safe word. The CD ladder she set up last year. Let's lock it down, I said. A free Zelle, ACH, and any linked devices. Judith promised she'd notate the file in case Damon tried charm. We can do an in-person at 10, she offered. I agreed. Writing a note. Brokerage 2FA. SS deposit reroute. Credit freeze. Small moves, quiet armor. I spent the next hour in digital surgery. Utility sites, cell carriers, insurance portals, one by one. I pulled permissions, deleted Damon's name, disabled auto drafts. Each confirmation email felt like exhaling after holding my breath too long. Yes, ma'am, I told the reps. Effective immediately. The politeness was armor, too. I retrieved the spare credit card from the key box, snipped it clean in 2, and took a photo of the pieces. I'm not angry, I said aloud. I'm finished. Then came the paper trail. A folder labeled Jandek, Damon Lyric, PDFs, screenshots, notes. I clipped the logo from the cigar lounge, matching it to the cufflinks Damon wore at Christmas. Coincidence, he'd say. But coincidences don't charge $428 at midnight. I printed a timeline. ER copay, down payment, daycare. Generosity had an audit trail now. On a sticky note, Officer Harrelson, Elder Unit Contact. Not a threat, just insurance. I slipped the folder beside my checkbook and church bulletin, my quiet power tools. By 10. I was at the branch. Judith met me at the door with that banker's smile that says both sorry and we've got this. Inside, the air smelled like carpet cleaner and toner. We sat in a glass cubicle, the kind where privacy feels pretend. There's an iPhone 14 Pro added last week, she said. Not yours, right? Not mine. She escalated to fraud ops, locking it out. Mid-call, a transfer attempt flashed, $1,200 to a name I didn't recognize. Caught it, Judith said, tapping fast. Logged as attempted. As she printed the affidavit, she lowered her voice. Miss Renault, I see ATM pools near that lounge. They were skimming when you thought you were treating dinner. My throat tightened, but I nodded. Then dinner's over. Driving home. The air tasted metallic, like storm brewing. An email pinged. HOA addendum, property access review, lot 17. My lot, the words shared utility and optics glared back at me. That was Damon's language. Slick, soulless, I muttered. You don't have to wrestle every hog that runs by, but sometimes you bring the hose. I forwarded the message to myself and added it to the folder. By noon, I texted Lyric. Bill's paused. We'll talk after money's safe. She replied fast. It's not Damon's fault. I didn't answer right away. Then typed, boundaries first. Feelings later. I filed the screenshots under Communication Boundaries. I'd learned long ago that memory bends under guilt. When I finally set the evidence folder on the counter, 2 alerts stacked: brokerage login blocked and new smart lock added to your address. My stomach dropped. I hadn't bought any lock. The app displayed DV front door, Damon's initials, sloppy as his schemes, gravel crunched outside. My old doorbell camera buzzed and sent a grainy image to my phone, a man's outline, broad shoulders, familiar jacket. I started a voice memo. Date, time, visitor, I said. I slid the folder beneath the pantry shelf, next to the coffee can that held my spare keys. My hand rested on the deadbolt. Lord, I murmured. Post a guard at my door while I post one on my accounts. The bell rang again. I looked through the peephole. Damon's jacket sleeve, his finger pressing the button, steady as if he owned the house. My phone flashed again. New device added. Money and door, both under siege. Through the peephole, I could see the curve of Damon's shoulder, the glint of his watch catching the afternoon light. He pressed my doorbell again like the house owed him an answer. I didn't move an inch. State your purpose, I said through the wood. His tone came back slick and measured. Just house talk, grown-up talk, Miss Renault. My pulse didn't waver. He said Lyric had authorized him to change my locks, install a new smart system. How convenient for a man who'd tried to link my bank account the night before. I started recording on my phone, timestamp visible. The latch rattled once, the chain held. The HOA will formalize this tonight, he added. You're out of step with modern security. I smiled into the silence. You are not welcome in my home. Leave my porch. I waited for his footsteps crunching over shell gravel before I exhaled. I called Officer May Harrelson and put her on speaker. Afternoon. Officer, it's Callista Renault. I'm reporting attempted access and a device ad tied to my property. She asked if I was safe. Told me to stay inside, document everything, print the smart lock alert and the HOA email. Her tone carried the kind of firmness that steadies your heartbeat. She logged an incident number and promised a patrol sweep after sundown. If he comes back, don't engage. Call 911. Keep the footage, she said. I promised I would. And Miss Renault, she added. Good job catching that device name. I thanked her, feeling a quiet calm. Procedure was something solid to stand on when blood ties had turned to quicksand. By 4. My kitchen table looked like a lawyer's desk. I gathered the deed copy, the last HOA dues receipt, and the bylaws highlighted in yellow. The line that mattered glowed like gospel. No guest or relative has access without written owner consent. I clipped Judith's affidavit on bank fraud and printed the push notifications from the Lock app. Every page was proof that I still ran this house. I added a sticky note. State facts, no speeches, no tears. Beside it, I placed a spiral notebook for transcriptions. Names, times, words, all logged in ink. I poured tea into a thermos. A warm throat means a steady voice. That's something you learn leading choir meetings and hard conversations alike. The phone buzzed again. Pastor Irene Coleman. Baby, I just got off the phone with Lyric, she began. She's in tears. I let her talk, then said, I'm not closing my door. Pastor, I'm locking it until respect knocks first. She hesitated, asked if I could show Grace tonight at the HOA. Grace has doors and locks, I said softly. She laughed under her breath, then prayed quick and real, Lord, steady her hand and her tongue. When we hung up, I felt seen, not managed. I texted her afterward, if Lyric calls again, just tell her Mama's safe and not alone. That was enough truth for one day. At 6:20 p.m. I walked into the HOA clubhouse with my tote, papers stacked like armor. Folding chairs lined the walls, and the smell of coffee clung to the carpet. Mr. Ansel Dupree, the chair, tapped the gavel and called the meeting to order. Damon was already there, sitting in the back row, legs spread like the air was his. The agenda sheet listed an addendum, emergency access review for Lot 17. I raised my hand. Owner present. Damon's smile twitched. He spoke smoothly, calling his intrusion a security upgrade, and hinted I'd been forgetful lately. Just trying to help his wife's mother. I laid my documents flat on the table. deed, bylaws, notarized affidavit. No consent given, I said evenly. Any device added without my knowledge is unauthorized. Any duplicate keys are a violation. The room went still. Mr. Dupree cleared his throat and began reading the bylaw aloud, the same one I'd marked. Every word burned in bright yellow under the fluorescent light. Then Damon's hand shot up. Motion for temporary access pending capacity review, he said. Slick as oil. 2 voices seconded it, neighbors who loved gossip more than justice. Before Dupree could speak, blue lights strobed against the clubhouse glass. Officer Harrelson stepped inside, radio clipped to her vest, asking for the chair. I capped my pen, set it beside my notebook, and looked at Damon's face, pale just slightly. Mr. Dupree, I said, voice calm as ever. Perhaps the officer should hear the evidence first. The room exhaled all at once. Damon's smirk slid away like smoke. Officer Harrelson's presence shifted the whole air in that room. The scrape of her boots echoed as she stepped up beside the table. We're pausing the vote, she said to the chair, her tone calm but final. The fluorescent lights caught the badge on her chest, and everyone straightened. She read the incident number into the minutes. Voice steady. Official? I slid my folder across to her. Pages fanned like cards in a quiet poker game. Color printouts of the smart lock attempt. My notes from Judith Ellery's bank call. The HOA bylaws marked in bright yellow. Officer Harrelson flipped through each, confirming the metadata, tapping one page. This is time-stamped and geolocated, she told the board. If you override this owner's consent, your liability's on record. Mr. Dupree cleared his throat and told the secretary to attach my file to the official meeting record. The shift was subtle, but real. The room went from casual to careful. I said my piece in one clean sentence. Unauthorized device ad, financial pressure, and an attempted policy end run. Damon's mouth twitched. His eyes kept darting toward the exit. I'm only trying to keep things running, he said. Syrup poured over a knife. Then came his next trick. Damon leaned forward, voice dipped low, sweetly poisoned. I'm concerned about her memory, he said. She missed a casserole pickup last week, sent Lyric a confused text. We just want her safe. The room stirred. Someone whispered, oh dear. I didn't blink. My doctor isn't on your payroll, I said evenly. And my keys aren't either. The line hit like a hammer wrapped in velvet. Officer Harrelson asked if there was any court order, any medical determination. Damon mumbled something about family care. She nodded slowly. Then it's hearsay, she said, jotting on her pad. That quieted them faster than a sermon. I reached into my folder, unfolded a same-day physician's note, routine wellness, signed and dated, Mr. Dupree looked over his glasses, asked the secretary to read the bylaw aloud again. The yellow highlighter glowed bright as a stoplight between us. I read the line myself, my voice steady enough to cut glass. Guest or relative access requires written consent of the owner. Violation subject to fine and revocation. The secretary read it back for the record. Heads nodded. A few whispered. Damon started again, tossing out words like care and responsibility. But Officer Harrelson raised her hand. Care is not coercion, she said flatly. And coercion is not care. The room fell still. Damon's confidence cracked. The motion for temporary access wilted midair as board members withdrew their seconds. Mr. Dupree declared it out of order. He scheduled a review of all device and door camera logs. No access changes until then, I added quietly. Any attempt to add devices again will be reported as harassment and elder exploitation. Incident number noted. The sound of my pen closing on the desk felt like punctuation. Outside, night had settled thick and damp, the air humming under sodium lights. Damon paced near his truck, phone to his ear, muttering. She'll cave. She always caves. I walked toward him. Officer Harrelson a few paces behind. Mr. Vickers, I said clearly, you are now verbally trespassed from my porch and yard. He turned, smirked. How's it feel being useless? The same dinner insult Minest recycled for an audience of streetlight and crickets. I set my travel mug on his hood and met his stare. How's it feel knowing I won't pay your bills anymore? Officer Harrelson's pen flicked. She noted the exchange. Damon barked. That's defamation! I lifted my affidavit of payments, every date, every amount, like scripture. Your access to my money is over, I said, calm as prayer. Your access to my home never began. Then my phone buzzed. A push notification glowed cold blue. Locksmith request queued 8:54 p.m. My street name right below it. Officer Harrelson's radio crackled as a patrol unit rolled past the clubhouse. Damon's face drained to gray, his jaw tight. You think you can stop momentum? He hissed. I picked up my mug and turned to the officer. Let's go see, I said, who brought tools to my door. The patrol car rolled slow to the curb, blue light rippling across my porch rail. Officer Harrelson stepped out, hand on her belt, eyes scanning the block. Miss Reno, that locksmith request ping is active, she said. The porch camera blinked red, already recording. I unlocked my door with her watching, the sound of metal turning clean against the latch, down the street. A gray van crawled past, headlights dimmed. Harrelson flashed her lights. The van jerked forward and sped off. Got the plate, she said, tapping her dash cam. I gave my statement right there. The HOA meeting. The trespass warning, the bank calls, the threats folded into family concern. She typed every word. We'll tag this for directed patrol, she promised. Overnight watch on your block. I texted my attorney. Pierce Lamar, the plate number and incident report before leaving the porch light burning bright. Baton Rouge humidity hung heavy, but my house finally felt mine again. Sleep didn't hold long. At 6:14 a.m., my phone dinged, a courtesy email from my credit union. Temporary hold deaky, it read, citing a third-party concern regarding capacity. I sat upright. Someone had called claiming I was confused, suggesting an elder review. I dialed Judith Ellery, her voice brisk but troubled. Damon called right after the meeting, she admitted. Said there was an emergency about your bills. My stomach tightened. Emergency access for whose bills? I asked. Judith exhaled. He hinted at a petition being filed today. He used the words temporary authority. I kept my tone level. Nothing's moving, right? She assured me the funds were frozen only for verification. Then verify. I said I forwarded her the physician's note from yesterday. My signed affidavit of full capacity. Judith typed while I spoke, reading aloud as she annotated, owner, lucid, independent decision maker. No shared permissions. The tremor under my ribs eased. Thank you. Judith, I said softly. Now lock this file tighter than Fort Knox. By mid-morning, my phone buzzed again, Pierce Lamar on the line. He filed it, he said flatly. An ex parte petition. He's asking for temporary safety access. I laughed once, short and humorless. Safety from what? Autopay? Pierce outlined Damon's exhibits, screenshots of my text to Lyric cropped to look erratic, grocery receipts labeled as care expenses. I took notes on a yellow pad as he spoke. We'll counter with documentation, he said. Physician letter, police reports, HOA minutes, bank memo, everything. He looped in Detective Pennington from the Elder Exploitation Unit. He may attend if the judge allows. I flipped my binder open. Added tabs, dates, screenshots, affidavits. If Damon wants court, I said, we'll give the court the truth with timestamps. Pierce moved fast. Within an hour, we filed a directive to all my financial institutions revoking any third-party authorizations. He placed fraud alerts on the credit bureaus and added a password to every utility. I mailed certified copies of the HOA bylaw section with a warning. Further device attempts equal harassment fines. Pastor Roland King emailed a letter verifying my volunteer work and weekly presence at church. His line read, Callista Renault manages our treasury with precision. It wasn't just kind, it was armor. I signed new affidavits itemizing every payment I'd ever made to Damon. Rent, daycare, utilities. Pierce filed our opposition electronically. Each confirmation email hit like a steady drumbeat. Proof of order in chaos. Around noon, Lyric called from her office parking lot. Mom, she started, voice trembling. Damon says you're scaring people. He's just trying to keep things normal. I let her finish. Normal, I said slowly. is me paying your rent while he tries my locks." She fell silent, then mumbled something about an LLC Damon registered at my address, just for tax mail. My chest tightened. "Send me the filing," I said. "Now." The silence stretched until she whispered, "He promised it's temporary." "So was Winner," I said. She sighed. "Can we talk after court? He swears he just wants to stabilize the household." I almost smiled. "I am the household, baby," I said gently. "And I'm stable." A sharp knock cut through the quiet. Through the glass door, a man in khakis held a tan envelope with the county seal. "Miss Renault, ex-parte hearing, Division E, 9:30. I signed for it, feeling its weight like a stone. My phone buzzed. "Pierce." "I'm out front. Binder ready?" I grabbed my tote, checked the tabs one last time. Outside. The wind shifted warm, carrying the scent of rain. A mockingbird sang on the power line as I locked my door. "Let's go," I said. "Time to teach him that grown folks' games come with court costs." Pierce and I stepped through the courthouse metal detector at 9 sharp. The morning light cut in slats across the tiled hallway, falling on a bulletin board that read, "Division E, Family and Elder Safety." He handed me my affidavit, thin and tabbed in blue. "Stay factual," he whispered. "No sermons, no sparring." Down the hall, Damon paced in front of the vending machine, phone pressed to his ear. A sheen of confidence stretched too tight. Lyric trailed behind him, looking anywhere but at me. Detective Pennington arrived in plain clothes, nodding once to confirm presence. The bench officer entered, brisk and unsmiling, the kind who believed in clocks and clean evidence. When the bailiff called our case, I pressed my palm flat against my tote, grounding myself in quiet ritual before stepping forward. Damon began with a performance polished overnight. "Your Honor," he said, "I'm only here to protect the household." He spoke of confusion, of my repetitive messages, of lights left burning late. He waved grocery receipts like scripture, claimed I forgot to eat. "I'm seeking a short-term safety access just to cover essential bills," he added smoothly, eyes darting toward Lyric for approval. He mentioned the locksmith as precaution, a kindness to ensure her safety if she fell asleep with the stove on. The judge raised an eyebrow. "So, not emergency services, just a locksmith." Damon hesitated, stumbled. "It was quicker." The courtroom went still. I saw the bailiff's pen stop mid-note. Damon had overplayed concern into control, and everyone could feel it. Pierce rose, voice level and lean. "Let's start with the bank memo from Miss Ellery," he said. "Owner lucid, no third-party permissions, hold removed after direct confirmation." He stacked supporting sheets one by one. Police report, physician's note, HOA minutes. The judge scanned quickly, lips tightening. Pierce continued. "My client has supplied funds consistently, documented as loans and support, not abdication of control, nay." He slid forward photocopies of checks, neat cursive in the memo lines, each one tagged with purpose. Utilities, rent help, tuition. Pastor King's statement followed, printed on church letterhead, affirming my role as treasurer. Miss. "Renault balances 3 ledgers a week," Pierce said. "Confusion doesn't reconcile decimals." The judge looked up. "Mr. Klein, if your concern was safety, why locksmith instead of a wellness call?" Damon's mouth opened, closed, stayed silent. Then came the body cam. Officer Harrelson's footage filled the courtroom with my own voice. Steady, courteous, denying entry. Damon's sneer captured in clean audio. The HOA parking lot under sodium lights. Every false word preserved. Pierce layered exhibits like steps in a staircase. Gray van plate, OA email threats, app screenshots timestamped to the minute. All coordinated, he said, after the dinner incident. The judge's pen resumed. Sharp strokes carving, record. Lyric's shoulders slumped. The video ended on my phrase. "You are not welcome in my home." The silence that followed was surgical. "That's the sound of boundaries," Pierce said softly, then sat. He wasn't done. Pierce produced a new printout, Louisiana Secretary of State seal at the top. An LLC filed last week under Miss Renault's home address. Organizer Damon Klein. The judge leaned forward. Purpose? Damon muttered. Consultant. Temporary. Pierce tapped the filing date. Same night as the bank flag. Your Honor. Lyric's whisper carried anyway. He said it was just for mail. The room felt colder, as if walls absorbed the truth. The judge turned her pen over once, then spoke. This court sees not protection, but pattern. When the ruling came, it was quiet thunder. Petition denied, no access granted. A protective order issued forbidding Damon's contact with my accounts or property. The LLC required to change address within 48 hours. Failure, the judge said evenly, will invite contempt and referral. Damon's jaw flexed. Lyric stared at her lap. Pierce leaned toward me, voice low. That's the line. We hold it. I nodded. Exhale steady. Vindication didn't feel like triumph. It felt like exhale after long suffocation. In the parking garage, the fluorescent lights hummed. Lyric hurried up behind me, clutching her phone. Mom, there's something you haven't seen. She showed me a draft email on Damon's laptop. Subject line, board rumor package. Attachments named after me. Screenshots, photos, snippets of text twisted for scandal. Her hands shook. He was going to post this before court. I met her eyes. Then he picked the wrong mother to underestimate. I turned to Pierce. We don't go home. We go print. We left the courthouse with the afternoon heat sticking to our shoulders. Baton Rouge humidity wrapping the air like gauze. Pierce suggested the library for neutrality. No one owned it. No one could claim bias. Inside the tech lab, the fluorescent lights hummed and the printer began to spit out Damon's smear drafts one by one. Each PDF bore my name in the header, twisted phrases he'd planned to seed around town. Lyric watched the pages slide out, jaw tight, guilt etched in her silence. Pierce arranged them in columns on the table. Claim, source, refute. We don't spin, I told her quietly. We show receipts. She nodded. Opening her laptop to forward files to my secure drive, we cross-checked timestamps against Officer Harrelson's body cam and the HOA cam, sealing every gap in the story. The task list grew like bricks. Pastor meeting, HOA council, insurer call, and a message for Detective Pennington. Each step mattered because proof without order is just noise. At the church office, sunlight poured through stained glass, bending into ribbons across Pastor Rowland's desk. He looked from me to Lyric, then to Pierce, waiting. I kept my summary simple. The dinner, the locksmith, the petition, the ruling. No drama, just truth. Pierce placed the body cam snippet on the tablet. 1 minute of clarity that erased Damon's charm. Pastor's face tightened as he read Damon's draft email titles. HOA concerns. Church accountability. He was planning to weaponize prayer. I said softly. Pastor exhaled, folded his hands. We'll address this the right way. Scripture says handle offense in private before the crowd hears it. He agreed to circulate our packet to the deacons confidentially, shutting rumor off at the roots, Lyric whispered. I didn't know he'd touched the church. Pastor met her eyes. You stopped it. That's light work. Child. For the first time, she didn't look away. I spent the next hour on hold with the insurer's fraud department. Sipping lukewarm coffee from a styrofoam cup, the rep finally answered, voice crisp and sympathetic. I gave her the court order excerpt, the LLC misuse, and the utility access attempts. We'll tag his name, she said, and lock all third-party changes. You'll get an authentication pin within the hour. When the email arrived, subject line policy lock established. I felt my lungs unclench. Pierce had them CC the mortgage servicer. You can't twist paperwork anymore, he said. You just built a paper moat. I logged the memo in my ledger. Each signature line felt like a shield, a layer of proof that couldn't be talked away. By evening, we were back at the HOA clubhouse. President Dupree called a special session. Council present, minutes ready. I watched from the back as Officer Harrelson's transcript was read aloud. Unauthorized entry attempt. Verbal trespass warning issued. The motion passed without hesitation. Damon officially barred from community access. Misses. Alvarez contributed her ring cam stills, that same gray van creeping at 12:43 a.m. The board added them to the file. A neutral bulletin would go out to all residents. Unauthorized entry constitutes trespass. Lyric sat beside me, tears silent, hands folded. I stayed still. Boundaries don't require applause, they require endurance. Before leaving, we met Pastor Rowland again to send the board packet, my timeline, the bank memo, the physician note, and Damon's own draft emails. Pierce's cover letter reminded them, privacy first, accuracy second, gossip never. Deacon Sharon phoned an hour later. Whispers stopped dead. That's done. I thanked her, but didn't celebrate. Truth shouldn't need fireworks. Outside the church, Lyric leaned on the bench, voice small. I'm sorry, Mom. I let him talk for me too long. I took her hand. I'll always be your mother, but I won't bankroll disrespect. We talk logistics, separate accounts, counseling, debt spreadsheets. She promised to write the pastor an HOA confirming her support. This isn't about sides, I said. It's about standards. She nodded, eyes glassy but steady. That night, Damon tried again, posted a vague complaint in the neighborhood Facebook group. It vanished within minutes. The moderators cited HOA policy. He emailed 3 deacons. They bounced him to the clerk. Even a cousin tried stirring family text threads. I answered once. Pastor King holds the file. Inquiries go there. Quiet ended the conversation. Pierce later forwarded a screenshot showing Damon's LLC address officially changed. Court order met. Detective Pennington's note arrived next. Referral active. Do not engage further for the first time in weeks. I set my phone down and didn't flinch at the ping of a notification. Neighbors began reaching out. Mrs. Alvarez, Mr. Dupree, even Judith from the bank. Each had a piece of corroboration, photos, time logs, statements. Proof stitched itself into a quilt too wide for Damon to shred. I brewed tea at home. The porch light reflecting off the mug. The air carried cicadas and calm. My reputation wasn't saved by speeches. It was rebuilt by paper and witness. As dusk settled, a white sedan pulled into my drive. A woman stepped out, badge glinting under the porch bulb. Missy Renault, Investigator Cole, District Attorney's Office. Her tone was measured, professional. We'd like to talk about Mr. Klein's conduct in your statement. I opened the door wider, gesturing toward the dining table covered in labeled folders. Come in, I said, steady. I keep my receipts. Morning light filtered across my table as Investigator Cole guided me through a sworn statement. I spoke plain and steady, dates, times, proof. She reviewed the body cam clip, HOA notice, and Damon's draft smears. You've done our homework, she said. I keep receipts, I answered. The DA marked his file. Attempted elder exploitation, financial interference, possible fraud. When I signed, the chain of custody became the first step toward real justice. At court, Pierce and I requested a protective order extending to my home and church. The judge scanned the timeline, nodded once, and said, This pattern ends today. Damon was barred from contact or entry. The order carried teeth. I breathed deeper. Safety felt measurable again. Next stop, my bank. Judith added in-person only flags. Utilities locked ownership. Insurers mirrored every alert. Each PDF in my ledger felt like a quiet victory. Secure, small, final, by noon. Pastor Rowland met us at the church boardroom. He read my one-page timeline, watched the clip, and said simply, We'll correct this Sunday. The statement went out. False claims were made. Verified documents affirm Mrs. Renault's integrity, I told him. No stage needed. Paper will do. That afternoon at mediation, Damon came with counsel. I slid across my documents. Restitution, no contact, LLC misuse. Sign these, and I won't sue for defamation. His smirk faded when Pierce played the clip. He signed. The notary's stamp was the cleanest sound of the day. I handed him an envelope marked, Final Settlement $0. He glared. How's it feel? I asked. Calm. Knowing I won't pay your bills anymore? Sunlight hit his face like truth finally catching up. That night, the sheriff confirmed service. HOA posted notice. and the church prepared Sunday's correction. Lyric sent me a short text. "Love you, Mom. I'm learning." I turned on my porch light. The quiet was mine again. Then a courier arrived with a certified letter. Compliance inquiry. Misuse of client funds. I smiled faintly. The story wasn't over, but the verdict was already mine. The letter sat unopened under the warm porch light, my name typed neat above a government seal. The air was still, too still. Lyric's voice echoed in my head. He said he'd fix everything, Mom. Fix how? I reached for the envelope, heart steady but pulse loud. Then the phone rang.